baptism, things in which I was very acquainted with and things that I already experienced in my walk with God, but I still had to go through those things because every church sort of has their own way of doing certain things, And I don't think this is what the Lord meant when he said, go make disciples. What are you guys hard on this?
Well, the concept of making a disciple is to, as he said in Matthew 28, he said, teach them to obey everything that I'm telling them. Now, the objective in making a disciple is that we be able to hear God and respond to him. It takes a little bit to understand that God would speak to us and that he loves us enough that he will speak to us in a fatherly way. And that he's very eager to forgive us of our sins.
Right.
These are things that need to be addressed with discipleship. That he is a covenant-keeping God, but he wants to forgive us of our sins. So often we've made it so that if you sin, you're dead. In people's estimation, you're out. You've blown it, and there's no second chances. And consequently, we've all seen people that have been, good Christians, but they do something wrong, and boy,
right.
You can't find them.
Right.
They don't want to talk to you.
God was still walking in the midst of the garden.
Yeah.
Adam was hiding.
Yeah.
I didn't see the Lord stop doing what he was doing in their relationship. He was looking for Adam. Adam was the one running away from the presence of God. Well, Michael, why is that? Why is it that when Christians feel like they made a bad choice, James says that once a man conceive in his heart sin bring forth death, So in other words, sin starts with a conceptual thought, and then it's a process where it matures into an act. That's why I love the Lord when he actually got to the root of things, where he says, hey, if a man even think of a woman lust after, he's already committed adultery. He went to the root before the fruit could even manifest. He didn't wait for the act of adultery. He actually, showed what the intent of the person's heart was. Why do you feel like most people who make these decisions or who actually sin, why do you feel like they run away from God or feel like God is after them, and view God as a whole different way than when they felt like they had a loving relationship with him?
Well, I think that, unfortunately, salvation for a lot of folks is fire insurance. It's insurance against hell versus a pursuit of God. Two totally different things. And so in my insurance against hell, I still want to pursue my own desires. I still want to do the different things that are pleasing to my soul. And I continue on these different paths because literally it's not that I've been saved. It's just that I wanted the insurance of not going to hell.
Right.
And I think that's what you find, and they call them, those folks who show up for, a church service here or there a few times a year or whatever else, because their heart is not in salvation. The pursuit of God is not what the total transformation was about. It wasn't about a transformation, it was about insurance. And that makes it a totally different thing than what I think God had in mind. Because I truly believe that I believe the discipleship and the pursuit of God comes from your spirit. And it was very profound. Somebody asked me one time and said, are you a man who has a spirit, or are you a spirit clothed in flesh? And it changed my life. Literally, it changed my life, because I accepted the fact that I was a spirit. I was a spirit who was clothed in flesh. And in so I wanted to know more about the spirit. And now my pursuit of God was spirit to spirit, and not my flesh in terms of my man and the physical being that I am, trying to some type of way move forward. And it's just literally changed my life, because with that, my pursuit of God now is spirit to spirit. I'm trying to understand the spirit of God so that the spirit of Mike and the spirit of God can become one. And so that pursuit is my salvation. Do I fall short? Daily, hourly. You know, it's an ongoing type of thing, but it's not okay, I feel that I have my insurance policy, for not going to hell, and now I just go on and live the same life that I lived prior. Right. And so now I think where it is that I'm at now is I pursue God. You know, to become saved, God, I think he pursued me a bit through all of my trials, tribulations, everything else. He let me know he was there, and I closed the door and never, saw that as an option. And then once I was saved and as I pursued this relationship with God, salvation is now a pursuit of me pursuing God and not God pursuing me. Though I still believe he pursues me, but I think it's my position. And so I think what you were saying with, Christians, I think that mentality is the difference. And the same thing with discipleship, that's the difference. It's the difference between who's hungry and who's not. Right. And so if you're hungry, you will pursue, you will sacrifice, you will do a lot of things. If you think about, the different degrees folks have, professional athletes, I was an athlete for, years, you pursue some things. You'll give up some meals. You'll work out when you have no desire to. You'll wake up and do 3 a days. You'll do all types of different things in pursuit of what it is that you want. And when it is that you want is God, and you're pursuing God, there's a lot of stuff that you'll give up.
Wow, that's good. John, you have something you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's a great example, Mike, about the athletics and pursuing God. I think that the interesting thing is we're finding more and more people today are getting hungry for God. I think the biggest challenge we have is to have enough maturity in us that have been with this thing for a while to be able to help those that are coming along with a hunger. I think if we neglect those people that are hungry and want God, and they really want to see that it works, they want to see that it works, and if we're in a place where we can, by our lives, demonstrate that it does work, that's going to go a long ways to be able to help these folks that are now coming along. God is doing this. Right. I mean, the hearts of people are very hungry.
Right. I think somebody just recently asked me, Dana, what are you seeing in this time of day for Christians and, and the non-believers? And I said, well, what I'm seeing is a maturing. There's a maturing of sin. That's why people are saying, I'm seeing some things I would never in my lifetime think I would see, And yet, of course, these things are not to catch us off guard, because the prophets warned us that as the times approach, that, there will be darkness and gross darkness. But in that darkness, shall arise the glory of God, And therefore, what I'm seeing is that Christians are also maturing. I'm seeing a great maturing of Christians. And so on one hand, you're seeing sin come into maturation. And then on the other hand, you're seeing Christians or the sons of God come into maturation, So we're seeing the maturing of both things at the same time. And so this is an exciting time to be living in. This is a really exciting time for me to be living in, because I think it notes the fact that the Lord is doing something new with his people during this season. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting time, because you have a number of prophecies that tell you, that these are the last days, but the last days could be the last million days, last million years, you don't know. But it's very obvious, I won't say obvious, I think it's plain, one can plainly see that a number of the prophecies from the Bible, that they are coming to pass. And that as they come to pass, that the maturing of the saints has to occur. Right. So you can't continue to live just in a vacuum and, sort of shield yourself out from the world and say all these things aren't happening. And the world is wow. How you say you go to hell in a handbasket? I mean, it's rampant. Like you say, you see things now that, I grew up in I'm telling myself now, in the 1960s and 70s, and things that were aberrant I mean grossly aberrant, are perfectly acceptable today.